The following program is being brought to you by Rain of Fire Radio, a media outreach arm of Rain of Fire Evangelical Ministries. Our commitment is to sponsor programs that will assist in living a Christian life and win others through teaching the finished work of Jesus Christ.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rand Berkey, and welcome to Rain of Fire Christian Radio, the outreach arm of Rain of Fire Evangelical Ministries. As on every broadcast, I like to set the stage sharing one of the foundational scriptures of Rain of Fire Evangelical Ministries, as well as its outreach arm, Rain of Fire Christian Radio. On Luke 4:17 through 19, it states, "And he was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when Jesus had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, 'The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed.'" Christ is the message. I am only the bearer of the message. As of always, every 4 years, everybody wants to throw their opinion around, throw their information around, throw what they believe is what's right around. And this is something that concerns me as well. And this is why I am doing this on a Sunday rather than on a Tuesday, because after that, of course, the election is over. You know, Jesus had a parable of a man who built his house upon a rock, the other on sand. In order to support this policies, it needs to be established on a platform of rock. I'm going to speak on platforms of both parties, which is sand and which is rock. Yes, as Christians, we need to vote our conscience. It is not about personalities. Who can make the other look the worst? It is about the future of the United States and the world. If you want to discern the signs of the times, we need to go to Matthew 7. Now, Matthew 7, of course, comes out Matthew 6, which is the Beatitudes. And after the Beatitudes, Jesus is talking about how we're supposed to live and how we're supposed to think afterwards. Now, some of the things that I'm going to be talking about is like, well, where do you see this within the political spectrum? And I'm going to tell you, well, maybe nowhere, but it's certainly an attitude of what we need to look at in order to choose the right platform in order to have the freedom of the country and also the protection. In Matthew 7:24 through 29, I am going to speak about this, and then I'm going to come back to the first verse of 7, and we're going to walk down through this until verse 24 to 27 again, and this is going to give you some substance, and then I'm going to talk about the platforms of each political party and how their effect is going to be on the Christian. And I have a few, and I'm going to be adding a few more planks that's not necessarily on this. The form that I'm going from is A Christian's Guide to 2016 Presidential Election. How do they stand on Christian issues? We're going to say pray and vote. So let's go to Matthew 7, 6 through 24. And it states, "Therefore whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. And it did not fall, for it is founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them, will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon the house, and it fell, and great was the fall. And it was so, when Jesus had said these sayings, and the people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes." Like I said before, chapter 7 comes after verses 5 and 6, where Jesus had come down out of the desert, was healing everybody. He sat upon a hill and said, okay, this is what I want you to hear, this is what I want you to do. So let's go to Matthew 7, and we're going to talk about 1 through 6 first. And this is a huge one when we're talking about the presidential election, because we're going to look at the first one, which is judge, or judge not. And it says, "Judge not that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged, and with the same measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your own eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn and tear you in pieces." Now that alone should shut both candidates. It has been, I keep on thinking, and I've been around elections more times than I can imagine, and I care to think about, and these are the things that you end up, is that, okay, so you have problems, I have problems, let's talk about the platforms. No, as I said before, it's talking about the personalities. And that's where we need to look. We need to look at the personality, the platform of the people rather than the personalities. I'm not making an excuse for either one of them, but God's will and God's overall plan is going to happen. But I will tell you this, and this is very important to understand, looking back at the Old Testament. There were kings that were so evil because the people had fallen so far away from the law, from what Moses had taught, that God said, okay, I made a covenant with you. You continue to break it again and again and again and again. So guess what? You've gone so far outside the covenant that you're going to be subject to your actions. You're going to be subject to your behavior. Now, Manasseh, which was the son of Hezekiah, was so evil, this is what the Lord said to him, that they were going to be taken away because of the evil. Well, Manasseh kind of repented a little bit at the end of his life, but his son Asa was a man that stood before the Lord as a king, and he did absolutely everything that was right. Matter of fact, God's statement about Asa was that he had a Passover that had not been had since David. That is a pretty big deal. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years before David and Asa. And what happened, because of the children of Israel repented for what they've done, that they did the Passover, they celebrated the Passover, that God delayed the judgment that was coming upon the children of Israel. That judgment was coming. God said it. That's what was going to happen. But the end result of that was not going to happen during Asa's time because of his humbling before the Lord his God. So let's go back to Judges, and it says, "Judge not, lest you be judged." Well, if you look at that judgment is not unto hell. When you're saying I'm going to judge you, you're basically saying, I'm going to determine whether you go to hell or not. And once my mind's made up, that's where I'm going to think. That's what I'm going to talk about. And that's what I'm going to teach each and every person that comes up with your name this is what I'm going to say. A little bit different than what the Christians think about when they're talking about judging. When a Christian talks about judging, normally what they're thinking about is that. And that's what people say, especially cults. Hey, you can't judge me, because if you judge me, you have to look at Matthew and you have to say, well, you're not allowed to judge me because you have to look at your own house and set that in order before you even say what's happening to me. Within a context, that's true. However, to be able to look at a situation, to be able to look at a person and say, you know something, there's something wrong with this. That's not a matter of judging somebody to hell. That's a matter of looking at that person and deciding, no, I'm not going to go down that path. If we trust in a personality, what'll happen is we'll get swept away by that personality, go down paths we never thought we would go to places that we never thought we'd be, and end up doing things that we never thought we would do. We have to go back to the platform. So let's talk about that one more time. That judgment is a judgment unto hell. It's not a judgment of looking at another person. We have no right and no part to tell somebody or a group of people that that person or that group is going to go to hell. But we're going to be talking about something else later on in the chapter that we can look at. In the next section, between 13 and we're going to keep on going. In the verse 7, it's going to talk about seeking, asking, and knocking. And this is what it says in verses 7 through 12. Asking, it will be given unto you, and you will seek, you will find, knock, and it will be open unto you. For everyone who asks receives, that he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be open. Or what man is there among you who is, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Okay? So, golden rule, right? Do unto others as they have done unto you. Within politics, what is thought and what is felt and what is believed is do unto others before they do it unto you. That's not Jesus' way. That's not what a Christian's way is. But you notice that in this, Jesus is talking about seeking, asking, and knocking. And what he says is, when you continue to do that, God is going to give good things to you. It says in James that if you ask for wisdom and doubt not, but believe, whatsoever things you ask, he shall give to you. However, it also says in James that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So we need to believe as Christians that when we seek, ask, and knock, God is going to give good things to us. He's not going to try to deceive us. He's not going to try to, do a switcheroo on us saying, yeah, you do this, but I'm really going to do that. No, he said seek, ask, and knock. Another thing about that, when you're going to seek, ask, or knock, what are we going to do it about?